Am I really starting out this year by getting into some fandom drama? You bet I am! Happy 2024! Showa 99 is finally real. We are now living in the Jet Set Radio future timeline, which is honestly terrifying. Now to the actual topic of the video. Today I want to talk about a documentary called Masterpieces Jet Set Radio Future that was made by K's Day. But before I can start talking about this thing in detail, I need you to remind you that K is in fact they. Anyways, I see anyone misgendering K in the comments, I'm deleting those. I'm warning you outright. Also, don't go after or harass anyone featured in this documentary. Don't be a jerk, please. This documentary came out in April last year, and I kind of have a beef with it ever since it came out. One of the smaller reasons on why is that is because this documentary isn't good at all. Also, before I say that, Hideki Naganuma and Ryuda Ueda like the documentary, so why are you hating? Well, I'm not them, and they're not me, so I can speak my mind. Also, just because I'm criticizing this documentary doesn't mean I don't respect all the work that went into it and all the work that K did to this fandom. Well, because they did a lot. They did some pretty shocking stuff. Fandom was never ready for it. I'm not taking away those achievements. It doesn't make them immune to criticism though. This won't be a live reaction because I don't want to sit on my ass for 3 hours to look at the video. You don't want to do that either. So I cut up some moments from the documentary that bothered me. I left some out because some were too petty to mention, but yeah. I think with that out of the way I can start talking about it for real. So, this documentary. First of all, let's look at what it promised us to show.
This film aims to highlight the story and experiences derived from such a game.
So yeah, we got that, right? We are promised that we will be shown experiences that people had from this game and its story. Also, this isn't as important, but listen to what music this video uses to show the chapter names. Yeah, it's the game over music. This is such a weird decision, but it makes it infinitely funnier because I dislike this video. So at the very start of the video, it feels the need to go into reasons on why the Dreamcast failed, which is I understand giving some historical context about when did the game came out, all that stuff, because well, this is a documentary about a game. But then this whole section about how Sega suffered during the times, and it said the Dreamcast died and all that. This doesn't feel really necessary. It is important, sure, because the first Jet Set Radio game was released on the Dreamcast, and then the next one was on the Xbox, because Sega and Microsoft had this thing, yada yada. But this section goes on for way too long, and I don't understand why. Also, that same section was talking about how games were releasing on this dying console, and it showed Space Channel 5, but Space Channel 5 released early in its lifespan. At the time, console wasn't dying. What are you talking about? Jet Set Radio was released in the 2000s and Dreamcast stopped being produced in 2001, which is, yeah, that makes your point, but Space Channel 5 wasn't released on a dying console. Console wasn't dying at the time. It released in 99. At the time it still was new, it was just a year old. This is so weird.
In order to save time and money, Smilebit capitalized on the work they had already done on Jet Set Radio. They did so by revisiting the world of Tokyoto and developing the retro-futuristic masterpiece now.
This is the part where I started losing hope in the video. This small section already was making me question if it's worth watching it at all. This whole section implies that Jet Set Radio Future is a rehash of Jet Set Radio, because it was made to save money or something. But Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future play really differently. Like, okay, if it was just like the same game, but released on the Xbox, with some graphical improvements, I'd understand your point. But Jet Set Radio Future isn't that. The only like reused assets is animations. And even then, that's also not exactly true. Some animations were from Jet Set Radio, but most of them were completely new. Also like the same structure, that it's a platformer, that we are walking around. Graphically, this game is just like built from the ground up, same with the physics. How is it money saving to make a completely different game, but have it have similar concepts to the previous game? Like, there is no reused graphics in the game even, like what? Also, it's Tokyo, not Tokyo-to.
Jet Set Radio Future was not a remake of the original Jet Set Radio, nor was it a sequel.
This isn't bad, I actually wanna praise this part. The statement that Jet Set Radio Future isn't a sequel is said like twice here, which is like, thank you. This fact should be common knowledge, but it's not. So I appreciate you popularizing this fact even further. Because your video got some crazy numbers, if I do say so myself.
JSRF's bright citrus-colored vision of tomorrow took and blended many groundbreaking artistic elements of the past in order to create this alternative futuristic masterpiece. The biggest and brightest artistic elements of the game come from Tokyo-to's high-rises, covered in a blend of faded logos, neon ads, and bright graffiti. But what gives Jet Set Radio Future its visual voice is not simply the bright and colorful aspects that seem to be the loudest, but rather the exposition of that juxtaposed to the grungy, grimy, run-down textures and atmospheres that exist down below. Alleyways, sewers, industrial zones, and overcrowded residential neighborhoods. JSRF aims to paint a picture of a believable world.
This part also bothers me. How this video seemingly idealizes the world of Jet Set Radio Future, says that it's a citrus-colored vision of the future, but then misses the point that the world of Jet Set Radio Future is supposed to be a dystopia. Like, yeah, sure, all these retrofuturistic claims are actually correct, but the aspect of this world being deeply fucked up isn't discussed at all. Fans of the series noted how muted this game looks compared to Jet Set Radio. I'm not saying that Jet Set Radio Future doesn't have colors at all, it does, and they are pretty good, but nowhere near as Jet Set Radio. Also, the claim that the world of Jet Set Radio Future is believable is also weird to me. Like, look at the fortified residential zone. Don't you understand the implications of a fortified residential zone? Also, nuclear rockets in Kibogaoka? Tokyo of this game and Tokyo of Jet Set Radio are really different. Because Jet Set Radio shows off the bright parts of it, the happy stuff. But Jet Set Radio Future doesn't really do that. It goes darker. It shows the seriousness of the situation that this world is in. The city has been taken over, and people feel the effects. I'll be honest, Jet Set Radio Future has some really good world building. It tells you a lot without specifically stating it, which is a big difference between these two games. Jet Set Radio didn't really have world building at all, just kinda, yeah. And comparing all of the game, all of this, to the first game, you kinda feel how fucked up the world of Jet Set Radio Future is. Like, there's no trees in Jet Set Radio Future, man! No trees at all! Anyways, yeah, the world of Jet Set Radio Future is dystopia in a way that it was taken over, it was this and that. but also in a way that it's like future, but it's a bad kind of future. And this is all glossed over because like, oh, that's pretty, but it's also not pretty. I think that really simplifies it, and I don't like it. There are so many possibilities for speculation about the world of this game, and this video glosses over all of that, which is bad in my opinion, because this video promised us to talk about the story. World is important to the story. Even though the world of this game is serious and kinda depressing, it isn't devoid of humor completely. It's almost like this world is way more complexer than meets the eye, but the video simplified that there's pretty and there's gross. Again, I don't like it, especially considering that this video promised to look at the story of the game.
The cast of quirky characters from Jet Set Radio made a triumphant and transformative return in Jet Set Radio Future. In a few interviews before the release of Jet Set Radio Future, Smilebit insinuated that JSRF exists in a separate universe parallel to that of JSR. Smilebit staff also went on to say that some characters have returned and grown up since the last time players encountered them.
I want to clarify that these claims are also correct, but there are no sources for them at all? Like, what magazines? Where did it say that? Can you show some proof? Like, it's not a sin to say a name of a magazine where a thing came from. Also, Smilebit stuff went on to say that JSRF characters are older, huh? Who wants to bet that his staff is just Hideki and his several tweets? Because I know for sure that these claims, all of these claims in fact, can also be found on Hideki's Twitter. I can't find and verify all of the sources because for a lot of these I need to know Japanese, and I don't. And if you have something new that you have to share, tell where you got it. People have to know. And no, credits do not tell where this information came from. Okay, so this little part of the video will be kind of like me acting evil and also apologizing. Okay, so people who were in the fandom for a really long time, have you noticed how suddenly there's just like high quality art of characters like Yo-Yo, Slate, Cube? Even though before the only high quality artworks we got were Beat, Gum, Tab, Onishima, Poison Gem, Combo, and Noise Tanks. But then suddenly there are these new images popping up. What happened? Well, unfortunately, that's my fault. I edited a lot of the art based on the guidebooks, manuals, magazine scans, to redraw and make a fan-made higher quality versions of these artworks. Well, I did these mostly as a part of this new Jet Set Radio Wiki project. It's cancelled now, but it was a thing. Because previously, the current popular Jet Set Radio Wiki was a fucking dumpster fire. Like, no sources to anything, no useful information, straight up fucking lies. Like, at some point I tried fixing up stuff, but I quickly gave up because moderators just weren't there. They were completely absent. So me and my friend thought, hey, let's make a new wiki, this is pointless. So I made these edits for that. I noted that these were edits because, I need people to know which art is legit and which isn't. I didn't note that I made these edits because this isn't my art. I don't want to make an impression that I try to make this art my own, because I'm not. But before completely removing myself from that one wiki, I just uploaded a bunch of fucking edits to that, without stating anything at all. That was a big number of edits, including some concept art. This is important because this documentary shows off concept art shown in the Rude Awakening documentary, the official one. Also, by the way, it doesn't say that it came from the documentary, so great credit in K. So why does all of this matter? Well, these edits are kinda outdated, where they were at the time. I updated edits on the cancelled wiki, but I didn't do it on the old wiki because I hated its guts. But then, it hit me. I could use these images as a trap, and people wouldn't even know. What do I mean by this? Well, if I see any new Jet Set Radio video that just claims stuff, and then I see that it's kinda bare bones and doesn't include all the knowledge that it can, I can see if it uses that edited art, and if it does, this will be a confirmation that they didn't do their research and just read the fandom wiki, which isn't research, by the way. To end off this side tangent, I need you to know that on the old wiki, that's the popular one, the one that you will definitely use, now it's all updated. I noted everything. Now you will definitely know if you read that the edited artwork is in fact edited. But anyways, that doesn't matter to the point I'm trying to make here. Anyways, when I saw this fucking edited art in this documentary, I just went, oh no! Oh no, they just read the wiki, no! At that point, I just understood that all hope is lost. Also, before you say anything, I understand that it could also just meant that they used an image, and that's it, and did their own separate research, which is fair, this can be the case. But the further I watched the documentary, I just saw that, nah, they probably just read the fucking fandom wiki. Also, now to the apologizing part. Now that I know that Ryuya Ueda, the guy who drew all these cool fucking images for Jet Set Radio, saw this documentary and saw my shitty fucking edit, I feel so bad. I don't know, I wanna say sorry, I feel really guilty. Anyways, yeah, this side tangent of me being evil and apologizing is over. Moving on.
The characters in Jet Set Radio Future were reimaginings.
This image isn't official, by the way. This is an image made by JSRF Inside, aka Neodas, aka the guy who made all this JSRF modding thing possible. What I'm trying to say that this image is unofficial. You should have credited it. Also, hate how this thing is spreading around like wildfire for fucking years, even though the rips on the image are wrong.
You can get a vibe of what their personality would be like, and I really like hers. Obviously, I feel she's most relatable to me.
I'm not gonna rag on guest appearances for getting stuff wrong, unless it's ridiculously wrong, because they're casual fans. They're not really into this thing, they just kinda like the game. Fact checking if it's true or not should have been K's job. They made the documentary. They went into the nerd territory, aka my territory. There are specific standards when you're making a nerdy thing. Anyways, not really about that, but at this point, it will return twice in this video. And I just wanna warn you about it, because I'll go into the details about it later.
Characters like Beat, Gum, and Korn tend to take the spotlight in JSRF's mainstream marketing. Meanwhile, other characters like Jazz, Cube, Combo, Yo-Yo, and Soda tend to be well-known cult favorites.
This part made me question if K even interacted with the fandom at all. Beat is the most popular character, and then Gum. These two dominate the marketing for this series as a whole. Korn was only featured in 2 short comics, which can't be compared to the sheer fucking attention that Beat and Gum get. That promotional comics with Beat vs Korn, it's named Beat vs Korn. Beat is the emphasis. And then this funny fucking part about other fan favorites, and then they claim that Soda is the fan favorite? Soda, that one fucking character that appears way later in the game that most people miss. Also, Jazz. Jazz is kind of the same deal, but more present. There are way better picks than Jazz and Soda. I don't know why, but K kinda missed how the most popular characters in the fandom are the ones that appeared in both Jet Set Radio games. Like Yo-Yo. People love Yo-Yo. They can't get enough of him. They love that gay ass. And you know why? It's because he was featured in both Jet Set Radio games. Also in JSRF he's prettier. I don't see it, but others do. so I'm quoting them. You know, by that logic, Soda should have been popular because he was in both games, but the thing is, people think he's fucking ugly. They don't see him as this cool guy he really is. So that's why he's unpopular. Like, people call him Squidward. People don't like him because he's ugly. And then the fact that he was barely present in JSRF also makes the situation worse. Anyways, okay, if you know something that I don't, if you know where there's like a secret Soda fan club, tell me where it is. I'm gonna join. I wanna join the Soda club. I like Soda, he's one of my favorites, but I'm not in the majority. Anyways, I need that Soda fan club so bad.
Left and right, they don't give a rip about our rights. All they care about is profit. And some spineless fools have already become flunkies in their diabolical scheme. You better believe they're listening on this broadcast.
There it is. There it is. When I saw this, I didn't even have the strength to react. I just kinda... Yeah, of course they do it. I don't know how to say this to you, but you don't compare fictional video games with real-life tragedies. Unless that game or any fictional media thing is based on a real-life event, you don't fucking do this. Also, this is such a lame-ass fucking interpretation. People really love to do this shit for some reason. If a game allows you to kick a cop, then it's immediately a masterpiece and definitely means something. It's not like kicking a cop is just like really fucking fun. No, it definitely means that the developers absolutely had this idea. They're absolutely so deep about it. You know, JSRF has these themes, you know, against the authority, about police brutality. But this game is really fucking funny about it. We never see cops the same way as this real-life footage shows, especially in JSRF. There are no shields, there are no like sticks that they beat up people with, there are no buses, there are no whatever. Actually, all of those things were in JSR, but this is JSRF. And even in JSR, all of this stuff was funny. What I want to say is that you don't compare this game that shows its violence in a funny way to this real thing. This is disgusting, legitimately. People who do this comparison are they're so sheltered. I don't know any other ways to say it, but this is so sheltered. Is this the story covering that the beginning promised? If it is, then this is nothing. This is literally just... Oh, this game has a fucking theme, and you kick a cop several times throughout the game, so it's so deep and meaningful. I definitely covered the plot. In the earlier section I complained that Kay just ignored the depth of the world, you know, the environment that JSRF has, but then they do this, you know, quote-unquote depth. I kinda got what I asked, but you see my reaction, right? You can see my face through the screen even though you don't see me. Also, the same montage that just compared these fictional 3D cops to the real police brutality. This editing implies that Hayashi is the rumor-spreading punk.
Lowlife spreading vicious rumors.
You know, it doesn't matter that the game itself tells you that the rumor-spreading punk is beat.
Time to flush out those rumor-spreading punks. Give them my regards.
Like it explicitly tells you so. Like Hayashi is a horrible character, like he's a horrible fucking guy, but he never lied. He never lied a single fucking time in the whole Jet Set Radio Future game. I'm sure that salary cut he promised did in fact happen.
All of your paychecks will be docked if you don't catch them this time!
Also, all these murder threats were followed up. Well, he failed, but he never fucking lied, what I wanna say. It's just funny. that in the same section that, oh yeah, JSRF is literally the same as Bully's brutality, but then there's just like clear point that K didn't pay attention to what the game actually tells. Like, character-wise? like...
Looks out for the community that is being oppressed and excluded from society by giving them insight and guidance via Jet Set Radio. In the original Jet Set Radio game on Dreamcast, DJ Professor K took on a much less significant role. The reimagining of his character in Jet Set Radio Future became much more personal as he voiced his concern and care for the player, the GGs, the graffiti gang the player is a part of, and ultimately anyone in need.
I wanna note that this is the only character description this video has ever. You know, in a game that has so many characters and a lot of them talk. Anyways, almost none of these apply to the JSRF incarnation of DJ Professor K. How is he more personal? He just talks more to the GGs. Most of the stuff was kind of already oriented to the GGs anyway. And how the fuck does he look out for you? Even though the same fucking guy laughs in your face when you fail?
What's up with all the fireworks? Is it New Year's already?
Also, the support of anyone in need is also really far from reality in JSRF. 2 incarnations of the same character. Is how fucking mean DJK is to literally everyone else except the GGs. Okay, so, in comparison. In Jet Set Radio, DJ Professor K is way less biased. He still makes fun of Poison Jam ruthlessly, but they are kind of this punching bag. They do get in trouble the most, and they are in general kind of like considered stupid. But he never insults anyone else. In contrast, he actually praises noise tanks for selling software to buy spray cans, for example.
They sell software to pay for their spray cans. Right on, brothers!
You will never hear a single positive thing about any other rival gang except the GGs. It's to the point that when the game first introduced Cube, he was like, Cube must be a really mean dude.
Well, from what I heard, Poison Jam's got a boss, and anyone who can organize those fellas has got to be one mean dude.
You know, he didn't say that like, he's a fucking dumbass for having this army or whatever the fuck. He didn't say a single bad word to the leader of Poison Jam. You know, the guy that he ruthlessly makes fun of.
Damn! It's Poison Jam! I can't believe they're showing their ugly faces in broad daylight. Shame on them. Are they the ones behind all this? Looks like those little beast dudes have arrived. Please don't feed the animals.
Like, okay, there's a unused voice line for the Death Ball chapter, where he just calls the Doom Riders and Immortals brainless.
I'd like to know what they got inside those helmets. They're probably empty anyway. Those dried up punks ain't got no guts. I guess after 5,000 years, they ain't got no brains left either, know what I'm saying?
This is really funny because in that chapter, he's like the announcer officially. What kind of announcer on any sports game have you seen where he just like praises one team and then just continues to shit talk the opponents? You know, I could just like chalk it up to him being kinda, you know, edgy, that this is like lovable insults and all that, but I can't really do that when the only lovable insults you get are for the GGs and everyone else can just fuck off. He doesn't help the community. He's just kind of a jerk in JSRF. Well, that was an exaggeration because canonically he still has the radio station, he still tells the news, does it all for free, but You know, it's not really nice when you go to listen to the radio and then the fucking radio host is just like, hey, you fucking suck!
And the graffiti that you're putting out, you're putting that over advertisements.
At what fucking point in the game do we specifically paint over advertisement? Like, sure. GGs sometimes paint over the billboards, all that shit. But they're not making a statement with painting over the ads specifically. They make a statement specifically just by painting. That's it. It's not even like, this actually happened in Jet Set Radio and they are misremembering. Nah, this never happened in Jet Set Radio either. At best, you paint over Golden Rhino posters. But are those really ads, like, in a way, in a consumerism way? I thought these were like ads political. When you advertise a politician, so you go vote for them. This kind of stuff. But video never clarifies which kind of ad, and the second type of ad, the political one, people don't usually think of that when they think advertisement. It's made even worse that in JSRF you don't usually just paint on an empty place, you usually paint over tags of a different gang. Are those advertisements? Does this count? What's even worse is that K chose the worst footage for this. They could have shown like GG painting over a billboard. This is the worst footage. They showed this like Hikage Street thing and there are no ads. Hikage Street is basically like stranded. There are barely any people. Again, I don't want to fault the guest appearances for getting stuff wrong, because it's not their job to get shit right. That was K's responsibility to do like the most accurate possible representation of this game's, story, themes, and people's experiences. With experiences, it's like, fine, this documentary does it like pretty well.
As the player wins friendly competitions in turf battles, members of those gangs join the player's gang, the GGs, becoming unlockable and playable characters.
That's not how the game works, though? Like, okay, sure. Let's assume that this is true. This is kinda only applies to the unlockables that you get through the main story. Like the GGs. But what kind of friendly turf battles are you talking about? Usually you recruit characters by repeating what they ask you to. In cases with Riff, you need to catch her. She goes somewhere, you need to go where she is. In case of Garam, he just traps you and forces you to do the tutorial. Truly the worst of tortures. And Clutch is the most unique out of all of these characters because you have to catch him and he can be in almost any place on the map. Usually he goes first to Kibogaoka and that place is trapped and you will die instantly if you go there. I think that's very funny, but this is really cruel. Fuck off, game. These aren't friendly turf battles. But this doesn't even matter anyway, because Kay is talking about characters from different gangs, and specifically shows off Rapid 99 and the Love Shockers. That's not how you unlock them in any of the games. You're just lying.
And in Jet Set Radio Future, passion exists behind each and every character. Their passion and identities are expressed in a variety of ways that make them feel fully fleshed out and believable.
I recognize this sentiment. I know where it's from. It's from the Jet Set Radio documentary, where it was specifically stated that back in the day, usually characters are accepted to be with fully written backstories, dialogues, personality, while in Jet Set Radio they were designed as a symbol, meaning you look at them and you instantly get who they are. That is the design philosophy behind characters in Jet Set Radio. If you play Jet Set Radio Future, you already see a big contradiction here. That contradiction being that characters in Jet Set Radio Future actually talk. It's not just like one sentence and that's it. They have dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue in Jet Set Radio Future. It's obviously not JRPG levels of dialogue. You know, it's not just 1,000 lines of text. But there is enough text that can, you know, tell something about the character. Dialogue is consistently getting just ignored in this video, which is again bizarre for a video that promised to look at the story of the game too. How do you look at the story of the game and then just ignore all the fucking dialogue except the intro dialogue from DJ Professor K that just gives kind of the setting of the, you know, the game. This is what the intro says. Everything else, it's not there. You need to play the game to find out what happens next. I know that characters from Jet Set Radio reappear in Jet Set Radio Future, so that symbol type of design is still there kinda, but they talk. They were added more depth that isn't present in their Jet Set Radio counterparts. But also, like, if we take this claim at face value, K's claim, tell me about the passions of the Immortals. Tell me about the passions of Rapid 99, Doom Riders, and pretty much every fucking rival gang that don't get a lot of screen time at all compared to the previous game. So yeah, there's no nuance between it. Dialogue be damned. You can guess anything about the characters just by looking at them. But then also this game is really deep. But also we will ignore the shortcomings of the game. Like there's no in-between. Also, this highlights another fucking problem with this documentary. Mainly is that it's about JSRF, but then for some reason this Jet Set Radio knowledge that doesn't apply to this game just seeps into the cracks and then just kind of stays there, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't fit in at all. They should have covered Jet Set Radio first, I'll be honest.
Each character holds a unique set of stats to match their personality and style. These stats can range anywhere from the amount of graffiti cans you can hold to the stamina needed to run from the police and pull off successful skating tricks.
False. Yeah, that's all of my arguments. This is just false. Okay, have you even played the game? Have you played Jet Set Radio Future, or have you just made up this new version of it in your head because you didn't like the real deal?
The player literally takes down the entire Rikaku Corporation and saves the city of Tokyo with nothing but a spray can.
No, player doesn't literally take down the entire Rikaku Corporation with just a spray can. This is so weird, like, characters in this game don't do just peaceful protests. They literally fight. Like, again, this game gives you the ability to punch a cop and then you ignore it because being peaceful is actually so much cooler, it's so much deeper. Yeah, no, sometimes you just have to punch a bitch. And that is what characters actually did. It's not like the GGs were out of line to do all of this violence. Tanks were sent out on them. They had full right to fight back. It doesn't even really work in a, metaphorical way that like, oh yeah, you use spray cans in the game, so one spray can, one psh, and it's done. Because it ignores the physical action that isn't metaphorical at all. Again, I just don't understand. You have this coolest fucking game, it gives you the ability to punch bad people, and then you're just like, no, actually, words have the power. Words did everything. Even though, like, no. This game is pretty violent. Like, really.
Although the spray can be seen as a symbol of rebellion, in this case, it is highly emphasized more so as a symbol of free speech.
False. You know why?
Graffiti souls are the symbols of Tokyo's freedom. And the
Okay, rebellion isn't a dirty word. Because, objectively, characters here rebel for a very good reason, against oppressive systems. Also, I'm aware symbol can have two meanings, but considering that there is one specific symbol of freedom present already, this is dumb.
At the end of the game, the player has experienced countless events that encourage and remind the player that free speech and unity are the ultimate weapons.
Should I mention that we still didn't have any explanation of the actual plot of the game? I'm sorry, but who is the target demographic of this video? It definitely isn't the oldest fans, because, well, fans will see the bullshit, and you know, fans are already aware of the themes of this game. So if you wanna bring up something new to the table, you should, you know, prove why you think that, show some evidence. But also, it's not for newcomers, because this is a really long introduction video that tells nothing about the game or anything else.
In the early 2000s, skating games grew in popularity due to the immense success of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series.
Oh, such memories. Yeah, this is pretty cool.
This may have swayed Smilebit's decision to shift their focus from technical graffiti mechanics in Jet Set Radio to technical skating mechanics in Jet Set Radio Future.
This comparison is so old that even when JSRF released some gaming magazines disproved it. Like this official Xbox magazine, UK edition. If game journalists can be right sometimes, then you can too. Fun fact, this is actually the first ever fact I heard about this documentary. So, you know.
In order to do tricks successfully, players must successfully match their style of trick with various rhythms.
Even though this is not a rhythm-based game, when you're skating, it's like you're skating to the beat, especially to certain songs.
This silent mechanic amplified the importance of Jet Set Radio Future's iconic soundtrack. Suddenly, a player's success depended on their attentiveness to the beats of the music they listened to.
I really want to believe that this guest just horribly misspoke, because this is just wrong. You know, it's one thing, like, yeah, sure, mistake, just like some weird thing. But then K expands on it. And it's just like complete nonsense that doesn't fit the reality of the game. Firstly, this isn't a rhythm mechanic. Game itself explains it as timing. Second of all, this isn't a silent mechanic. There is a tutorial in there. Game never said like, oh yeah, you should match your stuff to the music. I kinda see what they meant. You know that, yeah, this feature maybe sorta, kinda can be counted as rhythm-esque. But then they just claim that you have to do it to the music, and again, this is a lie.
You couldn't purchase albums or records, and you couldn't hear hip-hop on the radio. The only way that you could participate in the culture musically was through these cassette tapes, which would circulate all throughout the city.
Similarly, in the world of JSRF, cassettes are spread throughout the city of Tokyo, waiting for the player to find them.
You know, I like this part actually, because that's how I expected this whole thing to be like. There's a claim, and there's evidence to support the claim. Why this is the only thing you actually back up with some evidence? There's so much stuff you could have just explained the same way you do this, but you don't. Why?
The soundtrack was not only good, it was great. So great that it remains one of the sole reasons gamers continue coming back to this game decades later.
Genuinely and wholeheartedly. Fuck off. not only is just wrong, because gamers play games. If they only return to the game due to the soundtrack, they would just go on YouTube and listen to the soundtrack. You know, this claim hurts me specifically because I went into Jet Set Radio as a series blindly. I loved it for the game. Music enhanced the experience. But then you go on for a really long time about how deep the plot of this game is, and then just go back and like, oh yeah, you know, actually it's all about the music. Who cares?
This song, most recognized for being the title song of the game, samples specifically from Stokely Carmichael's speech titled Free Huey. It was here that Naganuma recognized elements of the speech that mirrored those playing out in the fictional world of Tokyo-to. Elements critical to activist movements, specifically to those fighting uphill battles for the sake of free speech, freedom, identity, and equality.
You know, usually I don't interrogate stuff like this because it's an obvious interpretation, headcanon, whatever you call it. But Kay claims that all of this is intentional, so I have to step in. Okay, first of all, where is the proof that it was intentional, aside from the sample? If it was intentional, then you should have shown it clearly, like a quote or something. Because we do know for a fact that a lot of these samples they didn't came from nowhere. Hideki didn't just like look up stuff and was like, yeah, I'll put that in my music. But okay, let's assume that the source of a sample is also related to the meaning of the song as a whole. Okay, if that's the case, then please, Kay, can you explain me the meaning of all these but happies? You know, that thing that samples a horror radio show?
Please don't start them off, Amanda. It's too upsetting. Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music, like old times. You remember when your mother was alive? We all used to play together. David, you with your cornet, and Daphne at the violin, and Mama at the piano.
What's that?
Come along, children.
What's that note? It's that note making that funny noise.
What note? Oh, you mean that? Oh, that's just a cipher. A wire must have stuck somewhere. One of the pipe valves.
It's Mama. That's where Mama is. She's calling for us.
Oh, don't be silly.
That features a plot point about this handsome guy that was killing women in a pipe organ.
And then when the struggle gets weaker, when the air is almost gone and you choke and gasp for breath, to bring the music down softer, softer.
Theodore, you're mad, you're mad.
Come, Amanda. Would you deny me that pleasure?
No.
I promise you the concert won't be too long.
And you know, the other famous sample is from the Watergate scandal. How is this important to JSRF and its whole theme? I'd love to hear an explanation. Also,
でボイスを細かく切り刻んで順番を入れ替えたりとかして全く意味のない言葉になったりするのを夜中に一人で作りながらケラケラ笑って作ってたりはしてました。はい。
I know this is only about JSR music, but if Kay mixes up JSR and JSRF info, then I can have a treat. I can do it once. You know, later on, there was this really long part of the video that was just about the history of all the movements that JSR was inspired by. And I actually have no complaints about it, kinda. I think it's unfitting and it's really long, but on a technical level, it was done pretty well. It feels like the most researched part of the video, and that's bad for a game documentary, because the game itself presented really poorly, but then all these historical things is presented good. Again, I'm not gonna talk about any of it, although I will mention another thing about the guests. You know, it's actually amazing that Kay managed to get people who were related to the development of Jet Set Radio, like another composer that people really forget about because, I don't know. He had a lot of useful insights which is surprising that after so many years he still remembers what the game is, about, its vibes. Also, even though I think that the historical part of the video was made the best, it still has some really weird decisions done. Like with the discussion of Shibuya Kei. First of all, why is Shibuya Kei here? This is more about Jet Set Radio stuff, not Jet Set Radio Future, especially the way it was described. But then, there was this whole section just about Shibumato, and they only contribute a single song in this entire series. It's a bit of an overkill to focus so much stuff on Shibumato when you have so many others to cover. Especially if we're talking Shibuya Kei, why not cover Guitar Raider? They are actually a band that was in both games and actually contributed a lot to the OST. And also in general, I would have liked more in-theme music coverings, like the Latch Brothers, the people who contributed a lot of music to GSRF, were barely mentioned. I kinda give a pass to this because, well, there's not a lot of information on the Latch Brothers, but then you just don't mention how important they are to the OST. This is so weird, why would you focus so much stuff on Shibumato?
Be yourself, be unique. I wish I had a beat button, but F what people think. Literally, just forget about the haters. There's a lot of people gonna judge you and not like you for who you are or what accomplishments you make, and that's what the game shows.
Please keep in mind this part. It'll become really important shortly. So overall, what is my opinion about this documentary? So yeah, I know that my standards are insanely high or something, but usually for this kind of stuff I lower my expectations significantly because I know that my standards are super high and hard to satisfy, so I lower my standards instead. But I can't go any lower with my standards here, I would just be lying to myself at that point. So yeah, that's it. But now, the part you weren't expecting. I actually dislike a lot of stuff. Shocker, I know. But usually I don't react to it. I don't make a long ass video on literally everything I dislike. My mental health would be in danger if I did that. And I would actually leave this documentary alone. Oh no, a video doesn't fit my standards, how terrifying. I'd leave it alone. But then me and my friend had an incident with Kay, and I can't not talk about it. So yeah, this is actually what this video about. All of the stuff I did before was filler. I could have just made a video just about the incident. But I wanted to prove a point. It all started with me live reacting this video to one of my friends and just expressing a lot of the stuff I said previously. Because I was so disappointed with the video, I decided to write a critique in the comments. This is the critique, by the way. As you can see, it is much shorter and a lot more kind than this video. I wrote this criticism since I saw some potential in K, since they did a lot to the fandom already. So I really wanted to see them improve, so that's why I wrote it. Also, writing comments on the YouTube video isn't illegal. The credits of the documentary specifically say that criticism is allowed, so why not? Then, on the next day, I was notified that my comment was deleted. And that sucks. It means that K is a petty as hell person. But also, this is a big YouTuber thing. They love to clean up comments because criticism be damned. It is a commonplace thing, so I would have let that slide. If not for my friend. The friend I was mentioning all this time is Rising Sonic. Another member of the fandom that makes Jet Set Radio videos. I was ranting about this documentary to him all this time. After I wrote my comment, he decided to write a comment as well. And his comment was also deleted. But with Rising Sonic, it's actually a lot worse, because he helped on the documentary. He was credited in the description, so he helped Kay in that way, and Kay thought it was significant enough to put Rising Sonic in the description. But after he commented it, and I was notified that my comment was removed, I decided to check the description, and I see that he's not credited anymore. Kay didn't just silence a fellow content creator that has way less subscribers than them, by the way, but also removed the credit. You see how shitty it is, right? Just removing someone that you thought helped enough that they deserve the credit, and then removing that person because, oh no, they criticized me. This is so petty. And this is the real reason why I made this video. If Kay just removed my comment, I was just like, yeah, that's shitty. I would maybe complain to a few friends, but that's it. That's just like a YouTuber thing. But with Rising Sonic in the picture, this situation becomes really bad. What if he helped more with the documentary? Would he be still removed? I honestly don't want to find out. Hopefully no one will find out. Also, the kicker of all of this thing, after both of our comments were deleted, Kay posted this. Just beautiful. Definitely the way an adult should behave. Again, I will remind you that it was just like two people against a big content creator. Like, okay, sure, maybe at the time Kay was getting more negative comments, maybe it really wore off on them, and they just like did this. But this video was really positively received by most of the fan base. Even at the time there were barely any dislikes. And then they talk about like, forget about the haters, like, do you really think that two people with nowhere near as many subscribers as you have will ruin your career? You're really just overthinking it. We aren't that strong. We're just two Jet Set Radio fans that decided to have an opinion and tell it. And you know, so much for that free speech metaphor that you were talking about in your documentary, huh? Yeah, I'm Jet Set Radio fan, I would love free speech, but then I silence anyone that is criticizing me. Definitely not ironic. I could have ended here, but I have more stuff to say. Now it's not really personal, but it's still K-related. A thing that I'm shocked no one ever brought up, ever, is that K supports AI art. On their Twitter, they posted a few images generated in AI, and in the documentary itself, they credited Midjourney. Mid-fucking-journey. Why is it so bad? First of all, now all of us are aware how unethical AI art actually is. How people who are making these things don't actually train their models on people who consent to it. So they just like steal art to train the fucking bot to make a shitty image. Not to mention that specifically Midjourney's ass is going to be so sued. They stole so much fucking shit. I never thought you could steal so much stuff. But what pisses me off even more, that there was some art used in the documentary that wasn't exactly official, and it's not just my Wiki edit. It were edits of other people, and, you know, renders. Most of them were either from Models Resource or JSRF Inside. I know this because I saw these before. These aren't credited in the credits. What a shock. An AI artist doesn't credit actual artists. Same problem with the fucking crediting is we can see how good the music is credited, but how shitty the actual footage is credited. Like with music, we have this nice thing, we see the name, who made the music, yada yada. But then for footage, we would just like see, oh yeah, I got this from YouTube or archive.org. And then for YouTube channels, it's just like a giant fucking list of nicknames. Some of them you can't even type. normally with Latin letters, and there's no way to tell who did what? How are you so shit at crediting? Do you really think that music has more rights to be credited properly than all of these videos that you took? It isn't even that hard to do. You were halfway there. You just add a name of the video so it's easier to look up, and that's it. That wouldn't help anyway, because you didn't credit any other image that you used. Jet Set Radio fandom already has a problem with not crediting their shit. Like another video that I will not cover anymore because I'm tired. The Jet Set Radio Iceberg video. It had so much reposted art that I actually made a post that lists all of the stuff that wasn't credited. I went out of my way to find every fucking artwork that I could possibly track down. I couldn't track down any of the edits though. That's out of my control. But, you know, if I was the video maker, if I found an edit that I couldn't credit, I wouldn't use it. Kay should have done the same. Or list that the edits that featured are made by them, but obviously not all of the edits were made by them. So my point still stands. Okay, you should be ashamed of yourself, seriously. For a person who did so much work, positive work for the fandom, and then just be this bad with criticism, this bad with crediting people, and then be an AI artist on top of that? This is embarrassing.